Hi, I'm host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and I'm going to talk to you today about the evolution of the species via metacognition. Fancy title, huh? I think it's true. If you think back a long time ago when you were just a little kid and humanity was somewhere in between ape and Homo sapien, if you believe that evolutionary model, then you're going to conclude that there came a point when we more or less stopped evolving physically. After all, we're still the same species. I'm not willing to accept the notion that I'm a more genotypically evolved species of human being than was, I don't know, Mozart or Socrates a long time ago. So, what happened to evolution? And more importantly, if we're not continuing to evolve, why are we continuing to get smarter? There's no doubt the species is, by large leaps and bounds. And the reason is we are metacogniting our way into transcendence of some sort. We're metacogniting our way towards something. We can recognize that people who are younger than us are further along by a substantial margin than we were at that age. And I'd say, okay, fine. We need to be careful drawing those kind of conclusions. We're comparing behaviors of people in the moment to time objects about our own behaviors from 20 years ago or something is tricky business, right? You can't put a lot of weight and conclusions drawn in that fashion. But I would say this, that I know how lost I was, and I remember the acquisition of certain models, certain ideas, sets of sayings and aphorisms and such that gave me some sort of guidance in this direction. Sometimes another one would give me guidance in the opposite direction. I'd have to try to reconcile those things. I'd try to put it together. I remember when I came across MBTI for the first time and was, oh, thank God, there's something to explain something finally. But finding it kind of not having, there not being a lot of pool to swim in once you get past the initial splash. Learning about the cognitive functions more recently was very eye-opening to me because it caused me, it's not so much that the idea of the cognitive functions themselves is so spectacularly good, although it is. Don't get me wrong, it's spectacularly good. But the key thing about it is realizing that you can understand the self so much more clearly when you are differentiating between individuals along certain typology lines that are going to be dichotomies, dichotomous pairs of adjectives that fall along the same set of vectors. Once you start applying that operative to yourself in general as a mechanism of defining your own identity, well, then you become really empowered to manifest the sort of person you'd like to be more so than you currently are. And you additionally become empowered to interact with other individuals much more successfully than you currently do right now. I have noticed the impact of the metacognition in my direct behavior and thinking patterns in a couple of different spots recently. I've noticed it when I'm interacting with other people who I know have FE or read them as having FE, and I note their language with me and how their top priority really is, depending on where it is in their stack and stuff like that, especially with other ENTPs, we do this little dance consistently of reassuring the other person of no stress, no pressure, whatever you want, blah, 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 kind of shit that we do. It makes me, knowing that they're doing this dance too, and knowing that they're basically like me, which is their top goal is to make sure that I like them and think they're cool. And they're also not going to be super attached to that, though. False part, whatever. Just some random dude. Right? So, understanding the ENTP, when I interact with them now, I know right away this is going to be a play, drift away, maybe sometime again, play. Who knows? You know that going in with the ENTP relationship, where you're ENTP, whether, by relationship I just mean casual, anything from casual acquaintance to married with 50 children. Any kind of interaction that's more than just a once, hello, goodbye kind of thing. Okay, so the Meta-Cognition, it's pretty straightforward. It's a matter of trying to understand human consciousness as a phenomenon, trying to understand one's unconsciousness as a phenomenon, trying to understand normative values, put together a consistent ethical framework, and occasionally even to make determinations about how one ought to act. That seems fairly low priority, I guess, to me. The point is, the discourse itself is what's evolving the species. You can see it with the impact upon law enforcement of the various video cameras out in the world. You know, the videotaping of things and making up YouTube videos is powerful in its evolving impact upon the species, because that's the methodology by which the species has to evolve now. There's no more evolution of the body. We have to evolve in time. We're done with space evolution. We need time evolution now. And the completion of time evolution requires the completion of a time ecosystem. We have it basically in place with the internet in terms of its most bare bones, baby steps kind of, well, I'd say, you know, it's like a second grader now, or a third grader. When this time ecosystem, an ecosystem in which time objects can compete against one another according to the rules of the timescape, which are different than those of the spacescape, which is why we struggle so much as a society with intellectual property. Well, what do we do with these time objects? Does somebody really own that? Those are just a bunch of ones and zeros. How can somebody own that? It's tricky because they're time objects. That's why. They don't have any physical form. To say that I own, let's say the MP4 that I'm making right now, is a strange thing to say, provided that as soon as I put it up on the internet in any capacity, anyone can take a copy of it, and it doesn't do anything to my copy of it. It's not like a space object. If you take my pen, I don't have it anymore. If you borrow my pen and destroy it by accident, and return it to me, I don't have it anymore. It's not working. You can borrow a copy of this video, and I never even know. It doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't mean anything to say that. It doesn't mean anything to see you could steal a copy of this video either, but we use those kind of, we use that kind of language. It's ridiculous. It's trying to force time objects to live by the rules of a space ecosystem that they don't operate in. So anyway, we'll figure it out as a species. I know we will. What I've noticed as a debate coach and as a species watcher, somebody who observes the progress of humanity over time and thinks about it a lot, what I've noticed for sure, without any doubt, is that the stronger arguments ultimately win. They do. Look at what's happening with the drug war. It's losing any semblance of legitimacy. When information is most fluid, when it has there's no drag, there's no viscosity in the system, so that information can go as individual agents individually will it to go, where individual agents individually will it to go, and where individual agents wishing to receive that information receive it and use it as they so please. In that context, you have this amazing multiplicative power of knowledge that if somebody didn't think about all this stuff exactly this way before watching this video, what I have to say here doesn't replace what they currently have in place. It supplements it, and if they draw associative link chains, it multiplies it. And they take ownership of what parts they think are useful for their own metaphysics. Maybe they go like, okay, well, actually, I'm worried mostly about this other thing over here, like the mechanics of making beauty. I'm worried about aesthetics in some fashion. Maybe I'm, a dancer or something. But I don't want to spend my energy constructing models to explain all my personality stuff of this sort. So I like this model, I'm going to just embrace this model and go with it. Sure, makes perfect sense. Nobody can be actively having their hands in everything. So I guess what I'm saying about that is by providing variants of the same information or insights, new innovations that add little details to basic concepts, or that tweak them a bit and move this part here and that part there. When we do that kind of stuff, every time you put something out there that provides analysis on the nature of the human condition, and you package it into a consumable package, you render it such that it can be activated by another human being, then you present the universe a chance to fulfill that other human being's need. They might come across that. It might be packaged just so that it is palatable to them. They might consume it. It might fulfill some need of theirs. It might help them to evolve more or become more actualized as an individual human being. Or it might not. As the person who puts that video out there, that's not something I need to concern myself with. Whatever somebody watching a video is doing with it inside of themselves is their business, not mine. So what does concern me, however, is making sure that my own identity is something that I can be more or less proud of. Which is to say, I don't want to live in a state of shame in which I'm trying to hide who I am or what I'm doing or what I want to do, or allowing myself to be influenced to be other than who or what I want to be. So that's kind of, for me, the priority is selfish. But the outcome isn't selfish at all. And the reality is, the altruism that we express is both real and a justification for things. Everybody likes helping others for one reason or another. Our extroverted feelers, we tend to, I suspect all of us tend to define ourselves by the approval and affirmation of other people. For introverted feelers, I suspect that you are altruistic because of some core value that you associate with yourself. And that would seem to make most sense. Either way, the fact is, we engage with one another because that's what we do as human beings, is engage with one another. And we do it in different ways and for slightly different reasons. But ultimately, that engagement, The species itself is not static. It is not an object, and the species continues to grow and evolve every time we engage with one another, every time we engage in sort of analysis, every time we provide new words, new repackagings of the similar ideas, new insights. Then what gets accomplished? Well, pretty soon we're going to evolve again, and we're going to have gills so we can breathe underwater. We're going to have laser eyes so that we can shoot things with lasers. And we're going to have computer brain, which will have Google implanted directly into our brain. And we're going to have super feet that make you run really fast. It's going to happen, I'm going to say, February 23rd, 2018. Wake up that morning, you can expect the gills, the whole shebang. Careful opening the eyes. You got to learn to turn those lasers on and off before you start burning down everything. It's going to be a messy 24th cleanup day, I tell you that.